kind of astrology of 101 is the where you want to start is the three signs, your rising sign, your ascendant, which is your first breath in, and that's your birth time. The sun is your ego, and you have your moon, which is your instincts, how you feel safe. It's the mother. The sun is the father. So those are the three basic signs that are extremely important in the person's personality. Okay, so we have to start there first, the person, right? The rising, your ascendant, is the mask. The sun is the ego. The moon, and once again, is our emotions, what we need to feel safe, our home, our mother. As far as compatibility is concerned, with those three signs, this is how it goes as follows, as pertains to other people. I'm going to use myself as an example. So I have a late Aries rising. It's 26 degrees in. So it's kind of like having when someone says I'm a cusp. And I'm a cusp. I'm an Aries rising, 26 degrees. So according to the house system, instead of my house being one Aries, being at home in Aries, it's actually at home in Pisces. So it shares a Pisces household. And my Taurus resides in an Aries household. And so on. And it changes according to everyone's rising sign. So if like your rising sign happens to be, if your first breath in, your first house is Capricorn, then the second is going to be Aries and Aquarius, and then it continues. So the sun is the ego. When someone is a cusp, they carry both energies. So my ego initially is going to be Taurus, but because the next day is going to be Gemini, I'm going to carry Gemini tendencies. So I'm a Taurus with Gemini tendencies. And then with the moon sign, my moon is Sagittarius, and my sun is actually residing in the Aries household. So my moon being in Sagittarius, it's residing in the Scorpion household. All of it matters. That's why when you go to an astrologer, they ask for the birth time. Extremely important. I do birth charts. I do your natal, which is you, your birth chart, your synastry chart, which is you with another person, and then a composite, which is you with the other person creating what's one chart. So all important is to pertain. It's not 100%. You're not going to have a chart done and go boom, boom. It's like this. A chart is a blueprint, right? So you have a blueprint of a house you want to build. Well, you're not just going to build on anything, right? You have to have a firm foundation. You want to have a good foundation. And you want to, you have a foundation for yourself, that's fine. You don't involve anybody else, whatever. But if you want to, you have a blueprint, you want to share that house with somebody, you're going to say, okay, what kind of foundation are we going to build upon? So it's all important. Here's the blueprint, right? So then you have to, okay, who are we going to hire, right, to build this home? It's not 100%. It's not, okay, I have a moon in 8th house. So what that technically means is my moon is Sagittarius, but because I'm in the 8th house, I have Scorpion tendencies when it comes to my emotional needs. The house, very important. It all plays a role. So many times when we meet somebody initially, the first time we see them, we sometimes think, oh my gosh, this is like my match. There's something about them like, oh my God, it's like looking into a mirror. And then come to find out that their rising sign is the same as your sun sign. Or if you meet somebody and there's something about them that provokes some kind of emotion, it could be the ascendant is the same as the moon. But again, the rising sign is the mask. So you have to be very, very mindful and very careful with that, because it's just a mask. That's all it is. What's really important when it comes to relationships, and you will read in many, many texts, one of the highest forms of compatibility in a love relationship, especially when it comes to marriage, is when someone's sun is identical to someone's moon. So let's say, for example, my moon was in Pisces. Okay, so I'm Pisces moon. So think to yourself, do you know of any Pisces? And the Pisces that you do know, how do they make you feel? Is it somebody that you are just, when you express your emotions, that Pisces sun, their ego immediately taps into those emotions, and it's like the figure eight. That energy is continual. It's just, I'm emotional, and the sun is there too. It's I'm sorry, it's reciprocal. You know, it's very, very easy for, it's one of the easiest placements of somebody that wants to nurture you, take care of you, love you, and it's like, what can I say? When it comes to that type of bond between two people, the sun and the moon, it doesn't get any higher than that. It's really a gift when you find somebody that's compatible in that regard. Not saying in other aspects, because there's other compatibilities. There's Venus to moon, Venus to sun. But when it comes to a love relationship, that's one of the highest forms. And there's, it's a give and take, and it flows so beautifully. I'm gonna use myself an example. I was in a relationship with somebody who's my rising was identical to her moon sign. And initially it was compatible. It was like, wow, okay, we get each other. But come to find out, the way she emotionally expressed herself didn't align at all with my ego, and there was many conflicts in that regard. Because initially you think, oh, the mask and the moon. The mask, you can't put a lot of importance on that. You just really can't. It's just like it's just there. It's gonna come off, and then in time you're gonna see that you are not compatible. Opposites attract. Let's talk about the opposites too. Let's talk about that. So many times, I know Vedic astrology, Indian astrology, Eastern astrology, a lot of times they'll go according to your descendant, but that's, what's your seventh house? Do they enter into your seventh house? Everybody with the seventh house, because that's your opposite, right? We're supposed to learn from our opposite, but that takes work. It does. And unless two people, both of the people want to work, again, that's another placement where technically, yeah, it's your seventh house. Yeah, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to learn from your opposite, right? So my opposite is Scorpio. But it's not easy. So that's kind of, again, but that's energy too. It's not just, you can't just look at the sign within itself. You have to look at the energy. What's Scorpio energy? It's originally Mars until Pluto was discovered. What's Taurus? Taurus is Venus. What's Scorpio? Mars. Venus energy. Just like Aries. Aries is Mars. What's Libra? Venus. So, I was thinking how, when I start these videos, what am I going to start? So I wanted to start with rising sun and moon and say that it's one of the most compatible placements. And I've done charts for over 20 years, and I've seen with friends, family members, and people that have just been kind of that soul bond. Because you could have many soulmates in this life, right? But how lucky is someone to find a soulmate who is that romantic partner? Okay, your life partner, your soulmate. And then there's also twin flames. And then there's also just that karmic relationship. And a lot of that you could see within the chart itself if somebody enters in. But when, again, sun, moon placement, the ultimate soulmate connection, whether it's romantic, It could be anything. It could be anything. A friend. It could be mother daughter. It could be. It doesn't matter. But it's so compatible, and you could have many soulmates in that regard, in that way. But to find in a romantic relationship, then, at least for me personally, that to me, I would look to that person as a life partner. Um, and it's interesting because me being a cusp of Taurus and Gemini, so the only other person I've ever felt such a close bond in that regard, her moon was in Gemini. So, and her moon conjunct my Venus in Gemini, my Mercury in Gemini. And a conjunction, all the conjunction means is the two signs that are identical. So, when two signs are the same, it's a conjunction. When two signs are opposing one another, uh, like your polar opposite, that's what that is. Then you have the sextile signs. So sextile is going to be the elements that are compatible. So it's going to be water and earth sextile, air and fire sextile compatible. What is a trine? Is this the three signs that are in the same element? Aries, Leo, Sag, fire, trine. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, trine. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, trine. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, trine. Then you have the squares. The squares, there's the oppositions, but the squares are the most, I don't want to use difficult, but they are, you'll see that a lot of times in karmic relationships because that's the hardest aspect. What they share is the same type of, so for instance, I'm going to start with Aries. Aries is a cardinal sign. They're the leader. So they square Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. Sorry, they oppose Libra. They square Cancer and Capricorn. So there's some compatibility in terms because they're cardinal signs, but it's a difficult placement because the elements of fire with earth and water. Water, what does water do? Water puts out fire, right? What does fire do with earth? Earth is going to try to cover the fire to put that out, or fire is going to take the earth and it's going to, create more of a blaze, So all of it's not just, you know what? The horoscopes, I don't follow it. I don't believe any of that because it's just going according to the sun sign. You can't just say, oh, all Tauruses today are going to feel off balance or whatever because this and that. Yeah, it might be somewhat true, but you have to look at the whole chart. How much Taurus do you have in the chart? Me, I'm a Taurus cusp, and my Mars is in Taurus. That's it. The rest are Gemini, Libra, one Scorpio, and one Sag, and then barely Aries hanging on there. So that's my interpretation of it. It's true. Look it up. Go to Google, read texts, which I've done. I have many textbooks on it in general. So it's very interesting. But so my next um, videos I'm going to do then is move on. And so then you have the rising, the sun, the moon. Okay, that's the top three. Then from there, you're going to want to look at the Mars, which is the masculine. It's your sexual energy. Then Venus is the feminine. It's how you love. And then from there, and Mercury's communication. And then from there, then goes then the outer planets, which then deals with the karma and everything. Then when you reach to Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, that's all the outer planets, and that's dealing with specific to karma. And then you have the nodes, and so those. But I will do videos on that, continuing that. But that's what I wanted to start off with. So if you want a chart done, comment below, and I can do a full natal chart with a printout. And then if you have someone else's information, you could add that in there too, and I could do what's called a synastry chart and then a composite chart. And again, I say take everything with a grain of salt. Always go from within. Always go with your higher self, because your higher self will know first and foremost. Feel that person's energy and how you feel around that person, because that's what really matters. Um, Sexual attraction is temporarily, that doesn't last. It's really, what's important is the energy out of the bedroom. It's how you communicate with that person and how they make you feel in general. You meet somebody and they inspire you, you better hold on to that person, because, finding somebody like that is very few and far between in this life. And somebody that loves you unconditionally. Uh, and that's it. So hopefully this will be the first of many videos, April 14th of 2023. Thank you very much.